Hello friends, I hope this finds you well, and I hope to deliver some encouragement to you this Friday, May 15th of 2026. Today is the 44th day of the Omer count, so we are 6 days from day 50, also known as Feast of Weeks or Shavuot, May 21st, according to Leviticus chapter 23, and it will be observed on the Gregorian calendar always on a Sunday, so 3 days later on May 24th. And there are several scriptures I've just been thinking about as we approach this day. First of all, we know that the Lord said 2 women will be grinding at the mill, which definitely evokes some harvest time imagery. And we know also in John chapter 4 and verse 35, the Lord said, "Do you not say there are still 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Behold, I tell you, raise your eyes and observe the fields, that they are white for harvest." So could that be a clue that the time when He wants to complete the harvest, or at least this main harvest, will be earlier than anticipated? Interestingly, the Pentecost or Shavuot is also called the Feast of Completion. But 4 months from now, Sukkot or Tabernacles, it is called the Feast of Ingathering, and it is considered to be the final harvest feast on the agricultural calendar. So 4 more months from now would be that time, one of the favorite feasts of Jewish people, the one that we call Tabernacles or Sukkot. So we're about 4 months from that feast, and as long as we don't go past May, that still holds true. We know that Jesus wants us to send out workers into the harvest, Matthew 9, 37 and 38, and Luke 10 and verse 2. And I think it's a lot easier than some of us might imagine, because there are people out there who are really hurting right now. And there are a lot, I've noticed, of relationships that are broken right now. I've never seen so many fractured families and so many people estranged from one another. People who had once been close, people who are closely related. And I've never seen so many people worried about their future, whether that be economically or whether that have to do with, their family unit or anything else. People are desperate for hope. So let's hold out to them the hope of the gospel. That's what Jesus says that He wants, is workers for the harvest. Couple of things that I was looking at about today. If you add 1,260 days to today's date, it brings you to October 26, 2029, which, curiously, is the 17th of Cheshvan, the start date of the flood. That would be an interesting midpoint, wouldn't it? That's just speculation, okay? Just a little math for fun. If you add 2,520 days to today, it brings you to April 8th of 2033. And so when we go to April 8th of 2033, it is the 9th of Nisan until sundown that day. On April 8th, and then it becomes the 10th of Nisan. Now, what's interesting about that is the 10th of Nisan is the day when the Lord rode the donkey into Jerusalem for what we call the triumphal entry. And we can read here in Luke 19, and as soon as He was approaching, and this fulfilled, by the way, prophecy that He would do so, that the Messiah would enter Jerusalem on a colt, a foal of a donkey, or the colt of a donkey. I can't remember which way it was. But He was fulfilling prophecy in coming in on a donkey, not coming in on a stallion, not arriving with power and majesty and demanding to be acknowledged as king at that time, but coming in humbly, meekly, and lowly, and presenting Himself as an unblemished lamb who would be an acceptable sacrifice on the day when every Jewish family was selecting the perfect unblemished lamb that then they would sacrifice for the Passover. So here Jesus is on that day when the lambs are being chosen, riding in humble on a donkey. And it says, as he was approaching near the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of the disciples began to praise God joyfully with a loud voice for all the miracles they had seen, shouting, "Blessed is the King, the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." And yet, some of the Pharisees in the crowd, so the religious leaders, the ones who had the scriptures, had the prophecies, had seen the same miracles, were definitely in the know and should have known better, said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." Jesus replied, "I tell you, if these stop speaking, the stones will cry out." How disappointed he must have been. When he approached Jerusalem, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, "If you had known on this day, even you, the conditions for peace. But now they've been hidden from your eyes." See, we have a blinding there. Now they're blinded. Very interesting, isn't it? That we're told the same thing if you look in Romans 11:25, that they've been hardened until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. So perhaps this day was the beginning of the blinding. But now they've been hidden from your eyes, for the days will come upon you when your enemies will put up a barricade against you and surround you and hem you in on every side, and they will level you to the ground and throw down your children within you, and they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. I believe the Lord wants us to recognize the time of our visitation. So again, very interesting that 2,520 days from today would be the anniversary of this day at nightfall. Excuse my dogs. I hope that gives you something to think about and to hope for. There are definitely very interesting thoughts. One last thing about that number 44, today being the 44th day of the Omer count. It reminds me of my father's dream, a dream he had just before he died when he saw the number 44 in red. And we talked about this, and I looked it up in Strong's and found out that the Greek word in Strong's, so the 44th alphabetized Greek word from the original scriptures in the New Testament, means fish hook. And I asked him, "Dad, what does that remind you of?" He said, "Rapture, harpazo." And I loved that. I miss him so much. I'm so glad that I will definitely not precede him according to Thessalonians, but that I will meet him and the Lord in the air. Sorry about my dogs. Hope you're well. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope this was encouraging to you. God bless you. Goodbye.